Welcome to Anonymous Tarot. I'm Kleo, and I'll be guiding you through the symbolism and meaning of the tarot cards. Today, we'll be exploring the Nine of Swords.
The Nine of Swords is often associated with feelings of isolation, despair, and hopelessness. It's a card that can evoke a strong sense of melancholy.
In the imagery of this card, we see a figure bound by chains and ropes, surrounded by the weight of their thoughts and emotions. This suggests a sense of being trapped by one's own mind.
The Nine of Swords can also be seen as a reflection of our inner critic, that voice that tells us we are not good enough, that we've failed, or that we are not worthy. It's a card that confronts us with our deepest fears.
This card can also indicate that we're carrying around a heavy emotional burden, one that's been accumulating over time. It's a reminder that our emotions have the power to shape our experiences and perceptions.
The Nine of Swords can be a call to examine the stories we tell ourselves, the ones that perpetuate our suffering. By confronting these stories and letting go of the need for validation, we can begin to break free from the chains that bind us.
In ancient Mesopotamia, the Nine of Swords is associated with the Sumerian goddess of fate, Ereshkigal. She's often depicted as a powerful, dark figure who weaves the threads of destiny, binding the fates of the living and the dead. The Nine of Swords speaks to the idea of being trapped in a web of our own making, unable to escape the consequences of our thoughts and actions.
That's a fascinating connection, Cleo. I've always been drawn to the idea that the Nine of Swords represents a kind of inner prison, a physical manifestation of the mental constructs that hold us back. The card's symbolism, with the swords piercing the chest, suggests a deep sense of pain and disconnection from our own inner wisdom.
In Greek mythology, the Nine of Swords is also linked to the story of Orpheus, who journeyed to the underworld to reclaim his beloved Eurydice. Orpheus' failure to look back at Eurydice, even in death, serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of looking away from our own fears and doubts. The Nine of Swords reminds us that our thoughts have the power to both liberate and entrap us.
I like how you tied Orpheus' story to the concept of inner prison, Cleo. The idea that our thoughts can become self-fulfilling prophecies is both terrifying and liberating. The Nine of Swords encourages us to confront our deepest fears and doubts head-on, rather than trying to escape or deny them.
The alchemical tradition also associates the Nine of Swords with the process of calcination, where the soul is purified through the intense heat of introspection. This process is not about destruction, but about transformation, a willingness to let go of the old to make way for the new.
Calcination is a beautiful concept, Cleo. It reminds me of the idea of emotional release, where we are forced to confront the painful aspects of ourselves in order to rise anew. The Nine of Swords is a call to confront our inner demons, rather than trying to silence them with distractions or avoidance.
In the realm of the Nine of Swords, we find a dreamer consumed by their own thoughts. This card often represents the moment just before waking, where the mind is racing with anxiety and fear. The dreamer is trapped in their own prison of worry, unable to escape the darkness of their own making.
I see this as a reflection of our inner world, where the lines between reality and fantasy become blurred. The Nine of Swords suggests that we are not just dreaming, but also creating our own reality through our thoughts and emotions.
The symbolism of the Nine of Swords is deeply rooted in ancient mythology, where the god of the underworld, Hades, was often depicted as a prisoner of his own making. This card reminds us that our own fears and anxieties can become our greatest prisons.
I think this card also speaks to the idea of being lost in our own subconscious. The dreamer is navigating a landscape of their own creation, where the rules of reality no longer apply. It's a journey into the depths of our own psyche.
The Nine of Swords can also represent the feeling of being overwhelmed by our own thoughts and emotions. It's as if we're drowning in a sea of anxiety, unable to find a lifeline to cling to. This card reminds us to be gentle with ourselves and acknowledge the complexity of our own inner world.
I agree that this card is a reminder to be kind to ourselves, but also to confront the darkness head-on. The dreamer's journey may be a difficult one, but it's also an opportunity for growth and transformation. By facing our fears, we can begin to break free from the chains of our own making.
The Nine of Swords represents a moment of utter isolation and disconnection from oneself and others. It's a call to recognize the weight of our own thoughts and emotions and the tendency to become trapped in our own mind.
I love how this card can evoke the feeling of being lost in a labyrinth of our own making. It's as if we are searching for a way out, but the mirrors reflect only our own despair.
Yes, it's a card of introspection, but also of resistance. We may try to avoid the discomfort of our own thoughts, but ultimately, it's there that we'll find the keys to liberation.
That's so true, and I think it's also a reminder that our thoughts have the power to shape our reality. We can choose to let them break us, or we can use them to forge a new path.
Exactly. The Nine of Swords can also be seen as a call to radical self-care. By acknowledging the darkness within, we can begin to heal and transform it into a source of strength.
That's a beautiful way to look at it, Kleo. By embracing our own darkness, we can find a sense of solidarity with others who have also struggled with similar demons.
The Nine of Swords is a card of feeling trapped, of being caught in a web of our own making. It's a moment where we're forced to confront the weight of our own thoughts and emotions.
I think what's fascinating about this card is how it can be both a prison and a refuge. We are trapped in our own minds, but that's also where we can find a sense of safety and familiarity.
Yes, it's a paradox. On one hand, we're trapped by our own fears and doubts, but on the other hand, it's also a chance to tap into our inner wisdom and find a sense of resolve.
I'd like to explore this idea of finding safety in our own minds. Can we talk more about how this card can also represent a desire for solitude or withdrawal from the world?
Absolutely. The Nine of Swords can also represent a need for quiet and contemplation, a chance to slow down and listen to our own inner voice. It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful action we can take is to simply be still.
That makes sense. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we need to be constantly productive or achieving, but this card suggests that rest and introspection can be just as important, if not more so.
The Nine of Swords is often associated with feelings of isolation and confinement, where the individual is trapped in their own mind, unable to escape the weight of their own thoughts.
This card can also represent the feeling of being overwhelmed by the constant barrage of thoughts and emotions, making it difficult to find peace or clarity.
In many ancient cultures, the sword is a symbol of the mind and the power of thoughts, and the Nine of Swords suggests that the mind is a prison that we must learn to break free from.
I find it interesting that this card often appears when we are feeling stuck or stagnant, as if our minds are frozen in place, unable to move forward.
This can be a call to examine our thought patterns and how they are holding us back. Are there any negative self-thoughts or patterns of thinking that are preventing us from moving forward?
And it's also worth considering that this card can represent the fear of being alone with our thoughts, the fear of confronting the darkness within ourselves.
The cards have spoken.
We'll see you at the next draw.